His knowledge
of all things manufacturing is unbelievable.
His passion
For growing the workforce is undeniable.
His story
Is inspiring. Drew Crow is a force of nature and a host on the Creators Lounge.
The Creators Lounge welcomes Google Cloud.
What's up? What's up? IMTS. We're back at the Creators Lounge, and I was here early this morning for the opening show, and one of the questions that they asked me was what interview I'm most looking forward to today. And here we are. We've made it. I've got my man Praveen here with Google Cloud. Thank you for sharing some time with me.
Thank you for having me, Drew. I'm excited to be here today.
For sure, man, and I'm excited to have you. Let's start with maybe the people that don't know who you are. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into manufacturing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start from my current. Currently, I lead manufacturing at Google Cloud. You know, the interesting thing is, how did I get into manufacturing? So the interesting story is, when I was a young pup, so I came to US from India to do my first master's, and it so happened that I was introduced to one of the stalwarts of manufacturing. His name is John Sutherland.
Okay.
So he basically hired me to do research in manufacturing. I'd also got my degree in there. So that's kind of really get to know into both analytics and qualitative side of manufacturing. That led me into consulting. So that's kind of where I was a road warrior. I've helped many companies transform their operation from design through manufacturing. That taught me a lot of manufacturing. Then I was with IBM for 9 years, again, leading manufacturing and supply chain, leading some large transformation. So I learned some more. Then I was with AWS for, before I came to Google. So that also helped in my journey. It's been a fantastic journey. If you look back and see how much the world has evolved, people find it hard to believe.
Yes. Oh, my goodness, man. And I'm just listening to the names of the companies that you're saying, and it's like dream job, dream job, dream job, So congratulations to you on your hard work, on your dedication, on all of these amazing things. But there was something else that you said, and I think that this is something that everybody's going to be wondering the same time. Manufacturing and Google Cloud. What is Google Cloud? What is Google doing at a manufacturing conference?
I'm so glad you asked. There is a whole misconception and trying to typecast us into one thing or the other. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's human tendency, so I get it. But if you look at the Google mission is to help organize the world's data, make it accessible to everybody and useful. And if you take a double click on it and go to Google Cloud's mission, we want to digitally transform companies by leveraging technology. So there is nowhere that says, manufacturing is not part of the scope, number one, right? Mm-hmm. Number two, manufacturing is the data-intensive industry. So according to one of the recent studies, manufacturing produces about 1,800 petabytes of data. That is more than any other industry, almost double the next closest industry. So this is data rich, and Google at the heart is a data company.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's why we feel we are better positioned to help manufacturing companies in organize their data and transform their data and provide insights like it has never been done before.
Absolutely. And when I think about the shift in our industry to, what I like to call a smart industry now, we used to be, the dark, dirty, and dangerous, and now we got smart factories. We got smart machines talking to smart robots, and, machinists aren't machinists anymore. They're techs, and they know all these different things. They're programming, but all of that has to be stored somewhere, right? And to store petabytes of data. You said how per day?
1,800 petabytes per year.
Per year, my goodness, that would take a whole nother warehouse the size of the shop that they have, right?
Yes.
And so how are you all eliminating the need to store all of that stuff in one place? And then how are we educating our manufacturers on what the cloud is and that their data is somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, you are absolutely right. It is a massive problem to handle. And oftentimes you can get lost or get started in the wrong place and not go where you need to go, right? And that's kind of where working with a company like Google Cloud is very advantageous because if you look at the manufacturing, and even though this data is there, data is produced in silos in all the way through operations. So, data is only as good as the context it's in, right? So if you think about it, that's kind of where we have solutions like manufacturing data engine, which not only helps you organize the data, and you don't necessarily need to store every data that comes out of the machine, right? Because it's a time series data. You got to determine, what is this data telling me? Is it useful to store? Would the history help me predict the future better, right? So those are the kind of insights you would get, and then organize the data in a way that matters, and then you derive insights from it. That insights could be descriptive, or predictive, or prescriptive, because most manufacturing customers, if you ask them, what do you care about? They would want to say, I need to know what's happening in my operation.
Yes.
And then they would say, I need to know why it is happening the way it is. And then third, they would say, I need to know what I can do about it to make it make.
I want to know when it's going to happen before it happens so I can stop that.
So
yes.
those are the things. So that's why we use those questions and work backwards and combining, because when I say data, it's not just text, numeric data. It's also textual and, some of the other contextual data, right? It would be multimodal data.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
We're going to throw it to our sponsors real quick for a break, and then all that data you gave me just gave me some more questions for you. So we'll talk to you guys in a second, and we'll be back with Google Cloud. So we are back with Praveen from Google Cloud. And if you missed the first segment, we are getting it cracking. So many great things that came out of this. And we left off at data, getting a lot of data, knowing what data is important to the processes that you have, and then using that data in a way that's going to empower your plant, empower your people. There's another thing that is helping people, but in manufacturing, it seems like a scary word or a scary phrase, and that's AI. Can you tell me a little bit about what Google's doing with AI for manufacturers to make this thing less scary for them, or to really show them how to open up their operations and get the most out of that data?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we talk about AI, we need to understand why AI, right? You got to understand the problem that exists that AI can solve, right? Because if you talk to most CFOs, and they would tell you, uncertainty is the enemy of profits, right? Because what happens is they go through, budget something, and some unplanned event happens that will drain their budget and also creates waste along the way. And if you kind of scale back and say, why did it happen? Why an unplanned event happened? Then the answer is you don't have visibility to the real-time operations. So it's, if it were to remember that nursery rhyme for a want of a, it comes down to want of a real-time data, the whole company came down, or some other company overtook, right? So, but here you're dealing with massive amount of data, something more than your traditional analytics could do, right? So that's kind of where artificial intelligence or AI comes in. Now Gen AI, where you essentially have a repository of all these different data sets and train them in a supervised way and sometimes in an unsupervised way so that it can help you predict the next event that's going to happen. If it is adverse, it will also tell you why it happened and what you can do about it.
Fantastic. And now, as you start to see these patterns, then maybe you can say, hey, we see through the data that every 3 months something like this is going to come up, and then you can hedge for something like that. tell me a little bit about how AI can compress innovation cycles, right? So how can we use and leverage AI and this data to innovate faster, to make products that are really changing lives at the break of a neck speed?
Yeah, I mean, AI is a massive invention, and it's not new. If you think about, Google has been at it for close to a decade now. We have released so many different AI versions, and most recently we have released Gemini Pro for more comprehensive, and Gemini Flash if you are interested in speed, right? So, so that's kind of where AI comes into play. Now, if you think about how are you really compressing the timeline, so the way you compress it is through automation, right, and envisioning, because the thing that you thought we could do 10 years from now, you could do that now. And if you ask how, through improvement in productivity. So we estimate closer to 40% improvement in productivity, and improvement in throughput. That's closer to 140%.
Oh my God! Oh my goodness! So a 40% improvement in production, and then 140% in output. I know that there is not one manufacturer right now that's watching us that couldn't use that type of stuff right now.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you how it happens, right? Because if you're a traditional manufacturer, 3 imperatives you go through are you got to invent something that's hopefully better than what's already in the market. Right. Otherwise, nobody will buy it, right? And then you got to make that thing faster, cheaper, better than your competition. And third thing is you got to price it right and sell it through the right channel, and hopefully get insights from your customers so you can go back to innovation and innovate it better.
Yeah.
But now the AIs are so sophisticated, you can simply feed your CAD files or CAM files, whether in like neutral format, IGES or STEP, and you can basically ask it, give me a different variants of this. Or how about if I move the schematic from here to there? So think about how much effort you had to do before. Now with a click of a button, AI can give you what-if scenarios. That's very powerful. Second thing is in the whole concept of agents. Agents are like intelligent entities that are designed to do specific tasks in manufacturing. So now we have a factory and production agent that you can simply talk to it or type in questions. How is my production compared to my target today? If it is lacking, how else can I recover?
Yes.
So those are the things that we could only dream of before. Now it's possible.
Now you can actually empower workers, right?
Yes,
and they're more
absolutely.
excited about coming to work every day because they can do their job to a point that they know is great. I want to hold that thought right there. We keep getting into the juiciness of Google Cloud and how to actually use it in your shop or on your shop floor for those frontline workers. 40% uptick in production, 140 in output, and we're not done. I'm about to toss it to our sponsors, but stay tuned because it's getting better after this break. Talk to you in a minute.
Everybody in the 313, put your manufacturing hands up and follow me, because we're going to season 3 of Road Tripping with Steve. This is awesome. I've never been in an automotive facility like this. Hello? Hi, this is Road Tripping with Steve. I need to leave and go let my head cool down. The Robo Drill is seriously one of my favorite machines.
Brand new program, call it whatever you want.
Steve's program.
All right.
Can you take it past 100%? Do it again.
So before that last break, we got into, we scratched the surface of a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and probably the number one thing that is keeping all of these manufacturers from having the ideal plant that they would love to have. Either having the technology that they want because they can't find the workers for it, or just bringing on new machines and new products and doing innovation and research because they cannot find the people. How is Google Cloud and AI helping solve this workforce crisis?
That's a great question, right? Because what you're asking me is about labor shortage in the industry, skilled labor, and how is AI really helping with that? And it's a real and impending problem. It's an immediate problem, right? Because if you look at one of the statistics that we recently, we commissioned a survey as well, almost 50% of the companies say they're having struggle finding the right talent. And if you look at the US Labor Department, they mentioned that 30% of the manufacturing jobs went unfulfilled because they simply couldn't find the right workers. And the next layer of question is, why is this happening, right? There are multiple forces at play. One is, any job, or especially skilled job, trade jobs, works in an ecosystem.
Yes.
Right? So what happened was 10 years ago, many jobs went overseas because of labor arbitrage. It's cheaper to get it done. It made business sense. But what happens is you break that whole notion of master craftsman to apprentice, right? That's how the skills used to get transferred, right? So a lot of people say, well, the younger generation don't want to work in factories. It's true, but that's a lesser extent than breakage of the ecosystem,
yes.
Right? And when you imagine a factory worker, you typically think a person walking around in, essentially dirty pants and greasy hands trying to bang something with a hammer, right? So that's no longer the case. With the Gen AI is kind of, essentially disrupting that in multiple ways. With Gen AI, you can create your master craftsman, the knowledge that a master craftsman has to teach the young apprentice who is entering the trade. Right? Because now you have a repository, just like how a master craftsman human would teach, Gen AI would teach a younger person who is entering. So essentially you're upskilling the people. And the second thing is the profile of the workers is changing too. Yes. So going from dark blue collar worker to light blue collar, or almost a technician job. Now it's more like he's a technocrat. He's not a traditional shop floor person, right? Because now the newer manufacturing workers, what you see is they walk around with iPads, iPhones, trying to debug a machine or remotely handle a machine versus what they traditionally used to do. So their skill level has increased. They work like the IT workers or technician. So at the end of it, if you see, the productivity per person is skyrocketing, right? Which is good for business, right? So by changing the profile of the workers and creating repository, we are confident that we can address that labor shortage market and also upskill workers to, move them to more higher value-added tasks.
I love that. I love that. Making those connections and making them real is definitely, the first part in finding those skills and attaining them, right? And I think that there's another thing that AI does that helps is when you sit a screenager, that's what I call the younger generation. When you sit a screenager with somebody from a more traditionalist background that might be older, some of those guys have been working in the machine shop 30, 40 years. They are not pleasant, right? And they speak in terms that maybe, another machinist 30 and 40 years in understands, but that's way above where the kids are. How is AI helping us take that legacy knowledge and language and translate it into something that's more feasible for this new generation to pick these skills up?
No, that's fantastic, right? It's an evolution that every generation goes through, right? Even in our case. So, but it's interesting, right? That's exactly where Gen AI can help, because Gen AI has this whole notion of LLM, right? Large language models. What it means is it understands the different ways of doing. Now, with the Vertex AI that we have, we have more than, there is in our model garden, we have more than 150. We support different kinds of LLMs. And we also have Gemma, which allows people to create their own open source LLM. And then we have LLMs specific to industries. So imagine having a LLM specific to manufacturing, and even within manufacturing, sub-vertical, right? Because the terms they use in auto, they don't use it in CPG, right? So things like that, you can train it, you can customize it, and that way through prompts, you can literally talk to it like the way you do. And the other thing is, our LLM, Gemini, is multimodal. That means you can feed it just about any kind of input, and it can understand and give you insights, whether video, your text, your audio, or vibrations. That's the beauty of it. This capabilities never existed, and that brings to a absolutely fascinating phase of manufacturing transformation.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. So we have wrapped. We've gotten to the end of this interview. I'm mad because there's so many more questions I have, and there's so much more that I want to learn. And it sounds like we are really just scratching the surface of what Google Cloud and AI through Google Cloud can bring to your shop floor, but then it can also bring to our industry. So I want to say, if you have more questions, please reach out to a Google Cloud rep. They'll be here. Where is your booth?
It's right on the north side of this.
Okay, so they're on the north side. You'll see them and talk to them. Talk to them about specific solutions that you might need that they can help you out with. Let them be one of the people that get you to that 40% production uptick and that 140% throughput. They can do it. Google Cloud, we hope to see you in manufacturing even more. You're part of the MFG family now. Thank you. You've been inducted. And Praveen, thanks for being a great guest today.
Thank you for hosting me. I really enjoyed our conversation.